Good evening. It is 7:01 p.m. It is Tuesday, February 14, 2023, and I would like to welcome everybody to the February meeting, the regular meeting of the Millwood City Council. This time we will do a call to order and attendance. Christina, would you mind taking attendance this evening?
Mayor Freeman.
Present.
Councilmember Beasy.
Present.
Councilmember Sander.
Present.
Councilmember Van Hees.
Present.
Councilmember Kohler. Councilmember Stravens.
Councilmember Stravens is ill this evening and is excused. We do have 3 members present. That establishes a quorum for tonight's business, and so we can go ahead with tonight's meeting. So at this time, I would ask us to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. Okay. Actually, no, we should do this before we ask approval of the agenda tonight. Because this meeting was originally intended to be for 6 p.m. but was inadvertently noticed for 7 p.m. to the public, this meeting is actually a special meeting of the City Council. So the agenda tonight is fixed as presented, so we could not take any changes or amendments to tonight's agenda. So we will leave item 3, and we will move on to item number 4, which would normally be our Spokane Valley Fire Department presentation. However, Chief Soto cannot be with us tonight. The presentation that he would make, the slides are recorded in the packets. I would like to call attention to the fact that February 2023 was the second highest responses ever for Spokane Valley Fire District 1. So they were very, very busy in February. So if there are any questions for tonight's report, I would refer them to Chief Soto when we get the opportunity.
Excuse me, Kevin?
Yes.
January, not
I'm sorry. Okay, so January 2023 was really busy. I don't even know where I am. All right, so January 2023 was the second highest responses ever. So may want to take a dive into that report and see what's going on. Do we have any other presentations tonight? We have no other presentations. So for public comments received, have we received any comments either by mail, by electronic mail, or directly submitted to City Hall for any items on tonight's action item agenda?
No, we have not.
So we have no public comments received for tonight's action items. Item number 7, executive session. Do we need an executive session? No executive session necessary tonight. So that brings us to item number 8, our action items for tonight. Our first item is the consent agenda, consisting of the City Council minutes for the January 2023 meeting, the 2022 year-end treasurer's report, the 2022 claims, the January 2023 treasurer's report, and the January 2023 payroll, and then any January 2023 claims. Ms. Mackin, do you wish to make any comments to any of those items on the treasurer's reports for year-end or January?
Unless there are questions, no.
Does council have any questions for Ms. Mackin? At this time, with no questions from the council, I would look to a motion on tonight's consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
I second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion from the members? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none opposed, tonight's consent agenda is approved unanimously. Thank you. So that brings us to item number 8B, the STA board appointment. So, Mr. Sander, you have been our dutiful STA board member for the last 2 years now, or 3 years?
Well, year and a half.
Year and a half. It just seems like forever. I would ask if any other council members wish to participate, or Mr. Sander, do you wish to stay on in that role?
Yes, I'd like to stay on. If it's agreeable to the council.
So I would look for.
I'd like to appoint Mr. Sanders.
That was quick. Councilmember Bessie, do you
I
have?
second.
So we have a motion from Mr. Hees to reappoint Mr. Sander to the STA board member position, seconded by Ms. Bessie. Is there any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, all in favor of reappointing Mr. Sanders, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none opposed, congratulations, Dan. You are back on the STA board. Awesome, yay. So that brings us to item number 8C, the resolution for the Resolution 2023-01 utility billing, and that would be Ms. Mackin.
Thank you, Mayor Freeman. You received the draft resolution in your packet. I had really intended for you to get a red line and with an accompanying memo. So I've placed those in front of you. Going over just very briefly, following the state-issued moratorium on termination of utility service during COVID, when we resumed this practice again, there were some, well, it came to light that maybe our resolution is not the easiest to understand for the public. And after 2 years, staff kind of didn't understand it either. So we made some revisions, starting with the statement date and the date that the bill becomes delinquent. Historically, we have run the bills on the 11th of the month because it took that 11 days from the meter reading until we billed to do manual calculations and reads, but that's not the practice anymore with the RF meters, so we don't need that great turnaround time. So we're looking at no later than the 7th as the actual statement date, and then the due date or date it becomes past due would be the 29th of the same month, because billing a month behind and then it not being due until the following month, i.e. December service, billed in January, not due till February 10th, is such a long open period that it becomes difficult for folks to understand that when they're past due, it's for so many months ago. So with closing that period, and it still being a reasonable open period of 21 days, we can shore everything up in the same month. Then we changed some language back in, let's see, section 4 to keep in line with the fee schedule, changing the amounts due for after hours reconnects. And then also clarifying that the mode of, what's the word I'm looking for? Brian, you helped me with this. Notice would be at the discretion of the city, not the user. Are there any questions on any of that? Is it pretty straightforward?
Any questions for Debbie? Any questions for Mr. Worst, since we're changing some language? Thank you, Ms. Mackin. So at this time, if there are no further questions for the treasurer or for legal from the council, I would ask for a motion on Resolution 2023-01.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-01, the building and payments.
Is there a second?
I second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion by the council? Seeing or hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none opposed, Resolution 2023-01 is passed. Thank you. So that brings us to our reports. That concludes our action items. So our report section number 9 is no action, and so we will begin with streets and construction. Mr. Shui.
On streets, weather's been pretty decent, so we've been able to take a break from the plowing and de-icing for a little bit. We're keeping up on the potholes with all the freezing and thawing temperatures we've been seeing. We will be doing one more round of leaf pickup this year since the trees were doing weird things. We're gonna be starting that on Monday, February 27th, and ending it on the 3rd of March. We're gonna try and just do one pass through town, so one pass. Other than that, we had All Electric and Design come out and run new wires between the light poles on the trail because the vandals were pulling wires out of there and making headaches for us. And we're taking steps to prevent that from happening again. We had our tree board meeting and the tree inventory presentation last Tuesday evening. And Jim Flott explained to the board and the public that showed up what species and conditions of the trees are around the city and what steps we should take moving forward for healthier, longer lasting trees. And one other thing I was gonna add to that is a lot of people wiser than me say self-praise stinks, so I was gonna be the one to say it, but Matt's been studying for like the last 6 months to get his water operator 2 certification and his cross-connection control specialist certification and stuff, so that we're all legal with DOH and everybody when Paul exits the building. So he's been working real hard for us to keep us up on that stuff. That's all I got.
Questions for Kyle? Thank you, Kyle. Mr. Erdahl, utilities.
The water samples all came back satisfactory. We had a couple more meters freeze up with the cold temperatures and people not insulating their meter vaults. We had Pacific Power come out and they did load tests on the generators at Old Park, Lift Station 1, and at City Hall. Sewer's going good, everything's flowing, so.
Where are we with getting the New Park generator connected, et cetera?
We're at the point where we need to put that
Use
out
our
to bid.
microphones? Are we at that point where we need to use our microphones?
Yes. Are you addressing that to me or to Matt?
To whoever knows what's going on.
Okay, so that is where we're at. We're at the point where we can start putting that out to bid to have that hooked up. Now, the ground's starting to thaw out again, so we'll have to do the gas service to it as well.
So the generator's just on the pad. We haven't snaked the gas to, we have not snaked the gas to it yet, correct?
No, we just
Okay.
got it on the pad during the winter time in between the 2 storms we had, and so it's secured and out of our shop.
That was the most important thing. Okay, I was just curious on that because I saw it sitting out there and I was just wondering where we were at on that. All right, any questions from the council for Matt?
Well, congratulations on passing the certifications, both of them, so good job.
Oh, Kyle just said you were studying. He did not say you had passed. Excellent, excellent. So any other questions for Matt? Thank you, Matt. So our treasurer's report, Debbie.
Thank you, Mayor. This is our year-end 2022. Everything looks fantastic. I've just highlighted that because it looks a little weird to have a restricted fund balance in general fund, which you're not allowed to have. But that's actually where the ARPA money rolls into. So that's actually coming from 98, which is now all 001. So it looks bizarre, but I assure you it's okay. And then back in utilities, next slide, yeah. We have the deficit there in, it's a decrease in the fund balance. But if you'll look at the highlighted capital expenditures, that's that water line going in. So we actually spent capital, that's okay too. So other than that, it was just a great year for us. Everything was in the green, which we like to have. Thank you, Christina. And then under finance, I attended a BARS update webinar put on by SAO. I'm also going to be attending a webinar on GASB 87 versus GASB 96, the intro to 96 and comparison, and a webinar on SAO filing requirements. And then in risk management, I attended the spring full board meeting and a condensed training. The subject of this year's compact and audit will be special events. So the condensed training was on that. Because that's the emphasis this year, I have signed Kyle, Christina, and I up for the full-length training on the new event liabilities at the end of March. I just wanted to make you aware that there was a 21% increase in general liability over this year over last. And in the last 5 years, it's gone up 49%. So WCIA is getting nervous in that we can't seem to find a lot of coverage over the 20 million that the pool already has for us. So it's going to continue to rise. Hopefully they have a resolution to that. I don't have any answers at this time. And then in HR, I attended the leave law and reasonable accommodations put on. I think you were there too, weren't you? I thought I saw your name on the screen. That was very informative, but really just a refresher. And so I'm going to be looking for other trainings in HR coming up. And that's all I have for you.
Any questions for Debbie?
Busy person.
Not as busy as her.
So yeah, with respect to that increasing liability, that is hitting every municipality for our risk insurance pools. A lot of it has to do with costs for insuring law enforcement, and really what it comes down to is we're having a hard time, or the risk pools are having a hard time finding a reinsurance company to deliver on that. And so you're starting to really run down to like 3 or 4 reinsurance companies in the world, and it's getting very hard for folks to they want what they want, and they are who they are. So that probably will continue. The other is that Debbie mentioned that special events will be a review point for the next audit. More than likely, there will probably be some things coming for the council because we will, to conform with our insurance requirements, we are anticipating at this time we might have to make a few changes to our special events for permits, things like that. So that will be something that the council will see as staff works through those items and fleshes out kind of what we need to do on our side to be compatible. Any other questions? Thank you, Debbie. So let's go to our cleanup hitter, Christina, with clerk, planning, and code enforcement.
Thank you. The first thing that I want to do officially is to introduce you to our new admin assistant, Denise McLean. She's sitting here at the table with Lisa, learning how Lisa does what Lisa does. With Paul's impending retirement, we're doing a little staff shuffling, and Lisa is going to move downstairs to work with Debbie more in the finance area, and Denise will be taking over at the front desk. So you'll be seeing her at our meetings going forward and at the front counter when you call. I have nothing from the clerk's office. My report from code enforcement is, for the first time in memory, I don't have any open code enforcement cases going right now. So we're going to go ahead and celebrate our little wins. Now from the planning department, I've been very busy since I spoke with you last. Starting with the Planning Commission, I wanted to let you know that they have completed the preliminary review and proposal for the park plan that we have been talking about with them for some time. At this point where we are in the process is that they feel comfortable with the plan that they've put together to send it to the City Council for a final look, and then with your approval, remand that back to the Planning Commission for a public hearing. To that end, we will be scheduling a special meeting on March 21st. That will be a joint meeting of the Planning Commission, Historic Preservation, and the City Council. And we will have the consultant there at that time to talk about the process that the commission went through to get to this point with the park plan, explain all of the elements, and so everybody can hear that plan all at once. In addition to that, I believe we will be having a updated presentation on the Argonne project. And I would like also for our boards to report to the City Council about what they accomplished in the last year and what we'll be working on going forward. So that will be an important meeting to be at. Again, that'll be March 21st, a week after your normal, regular March meeting.
So also, I think we're going to add the tree board to that if we're going to have our boards report out, particularly after the tree inventory was completed, so that council and everyone can get a taste for what actually came up in there. So I would actually plan for this meeting to be anywhere from, upwards of 3 hours for everyone to get through, plus the presentations from the consultants on the park plan and the presentation on Argonne. We will have had a hearing date by that time regarding the condemnation proceedings with IEP. So this seems to be a good time to begin rollout of the project generally to the public and let folks know kind of what to expect should we complete the condemnation proceedings. Thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
That's okay.
Oh,
Just to piggyback for the sake of continuing the point, the hearing, the initial hearing in the IEP condemnation is scheduled for March 3rd. It may get bumped to March 10th. But that hearing is not the trial. It's not the determination of whether eminent domain is appropriate or not. The purpose of that hearing is to determine whether public use and necessity is present. If, and under the statute, if IEP does not stipulate to public use and necessity, and we demonstrate that the land is necessary for public use, then that precludes certain ability to recover attorney's fees by IEP later on in the proceedings. So it's a crucial first step. 9 times out of 10, the parties stipulate to public use and necessity. My apologies there. We've asked for a stipulation and not received one yet, but we are hoping that you don't have to go to that hearing and spend a day and demonstrate it. So we'll keep you posted as we move forward.
please continue. Sorry.
Thank you. So in the planning department, I've been very busy. As I know that some of you know, I'm going to run down real quick what's been going on. Starting with this afternoon, Matt, Kyle, and I had our first what's called a pre-application meeting with the City of Spokane Valley. So you remember that they took over our building permitting, and they've had their first application over there for work in Millwood, which is an addition to the North 40 on Trenton Vista, a substantial addition. So we met with representatives from the applicant, the architect, Spokane Valley, and Matt, Kyle, and I, and walked through that project. They have a couple of wrinkles still to iron out, but it looks like that'll be going forward, and they want to move forward with that. So that would be demolishing the smaller original building that I think they use as kind of a garden center, and then adding on to the existing building to make more of a Airway Heights type North 40 expansion. So that's exciting. I know that in your materials for tonight, you were given comments for a manufactured home park that is being proposed on East Empire, and I just wanted to talk quickly about that. I put out the public notice based on, and the way that I noticed it, based on some state regulations, and then when I went back into the Millwood code, I noticed that our code was a little different. And so the public notice for that project has been extended by a week. The deadline for comments on that now is February 23rd, I believe. I'm getting lots of public comment in our office, both written and email and verbal. Just a reminder, and I think that Kevin will mention this as well. This action will result in an administrative decision, which means that I will review the project, and should it meet the requirements as they're laid out in the code, then I will administer the decision. My decisions per the code are appealable to City Council. And so there is a good possibility that this matter will become before you in the future. And so just a reminder to refrain from comment and conversations on items that you might be making decisions on later on. And then lastly, we received last week notice from the City of Spokane Valley that they have a proposal that is 650 feet east of Butler Road. In the Spokane Valley, it's a 68-unit apartment complex. We have been given notification and given the opportunity to comment. And so Kyle, Matt, and I are working through that project as well to submit comments for what we determine, whatever those impacts may be to Millwood from a large development so close to the city boundary.
On Empire.
On Empire, yes, did I say that? I'm sorry. East of Butler on Empire. Comments for that are due, I believe, on the 22nd or 3rd as well. So we will be submitting comments on behalf of the City of Millwood to Spokane Valley. That is all I have, unless you have any questions for me.
Questions for Christina? Not seeing or hearing any. Thank you, Christina. So we will go to our legal report. Mr. Worst.
Nothing further to add to the agenda or the discussion tonight. Happy to answer any questions, though.
Any questions for Mr. Worst? Thank you. So I'll have a brief mayor's report. As Christina said, we've had a few things coming up with respect to development in and around the city. I have reached out to Sheriff Kittlestaff. I have not heard back from him, but that is because I haven't followed up regarding getting a deputy representative out here, much like the fire department or Spokane Valley Fire for a monthly report. I will continue to work on that. As a note, I will be out of the country for the next 2 weeks, and so Mr. Culler will be serving as mayor pro tem. Should anything go wrong, don't call me. Other than that, I have no real comments. There will be, just for people to be aware, there will be a meeting of the Millwood Community Association on, I believe it's March the 2nd. March the 2nd. They have asked for information regarding the Argonne project. I will be asking Welch Comer to go and present boards, plans, et cetera, for the conceptual design for the Argonne project, with the understanding that they iterate to those folks that until we have obtained all right-of-way, we don't really have a project, so we have no firm scheduling date or anything. But just so that it's primarily the businesses, I believe that they've had some conflicting information as to what the potential impacts of the project might be to the businesses on the west side of Argonne. So I think it's appropriate that we get the engineer out there to present and answer any technical questions regarding that. So they will be there. As always, you are welcome to attend these meetings. I think they enjoy having elected representatives there if you want. Just remember, if you get more than 3 of you there or think there might be more than 3 of you there, to let Christina know, because we'd have to notice that up as a public meeting. Any questions for me on anything that's going on? All right, thank you very much. That concludes our reports for this evening. Council information, and your council information is the sheriff's report for December 2022. And that brings us to item number 11, our public remarks, which is the opportunities for citizens to address the council either in person or by submitting their remarks to remarks at Millwood Law. We ask that the in-person speakers limit themselves to 2 minutes and follow the citizen participation guidelines. We have received public remarks from a number of folks concerning the manufactured home development. Those have been provided to you. Those written comments have been provided to you and have been, I believe, have been posted to the website. So right now we have 2 individuals. As I said, I'd like to just make a quick statement prior to having public remarks from people in the audience. The first is that there appears to be, and this is also for the camera up there as well, there appears to be some insinuation on social media that the city of Millwood is the proponent, or the city of Millwood is quote-unquote building a manufactured home park. I just want to be clear to anybody that the city is not the proponent. The city is not the builder. The city is simply the reviewing agent in this matter. It is a private property action. Second is I would remind the council, as Christina said, that as this is an administrative action, should it be appealed, it would be brought back before the city council to be the hearing agent for that appeal. And so I would ask that for the doctrine of fairness, that council refrain from making any comments based on public remarks or having any conversations with this matter, not because we should be silent, but because you should be prepared that in due course there may be an appeal. And Mr. Wurst, do you have anything to add on that one?
Yeah, just know to follow up, the appearance of fairness doctrine is not only common law, but it's codified under RCW 4236. And what that says is that to the extent you take any action, do anything that could be construed as prejudging issues, showing a bias one way or the other, having or demonstrating conflict of interest, you are prohibited from acting on in any quasi-judicial manner in the future on that matter. So public comment, items of public expression is really an opportunity for the public to express their comments to you. It's not a Q&A or engaging of a dialogue or conversation, especially when it's an issue that may come back to you in the future. That's all.
So if our members are silent in your remarks, that is why. So at this time, we have two individuals. First is Frank Winsper. If Mr. Winsper, if you would not mind coming to the podium. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. After listening what Christina had to say, I understand it's probably going to go to City Council, and therefore you're not going to be able to answer any of my questions. I just urge you to go over everything that has been written here and be transparent and address concerns. It sounds like with this apartment complex going in, some of the concerns on the infrastructure may really be enhanced a lot. And I guess that's basically all I had. I had a lot of other questions, but I'll hold off. I would ask you, when do you think you will have time to start answering questions?
So that I think we can address. The schedule is that the comments are due back, or the notice is,
Like 22nd or 23rd, something?
Yes, so public comment is due, I believe, the 23rd at the end of business. There will be a period of time where I go through any comments that I've received. It's been noticed not only to the neighborhood, but as well to different agencies who might have an interest. There'll be a lag there while I compile everything, issue a SEPA decision, and then once a decision has been made, the neighbors would be notified. I would imagine it to be approximately 4 weeks after the comment period is over.
And that, do you say it will probably go to city council, or is that something?
So an administrative decision is appealable to the city council. So there will be an opportunity for residents, if they wish to appeal my decision, to fill out an application and make an appeal to the city council.
Should add applicant or residents, it's anybody that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay,
And I am available during business hours to answer questions. The question and answer at the city council level is not appropriate at this point.
Right.
But I'm willing to sit down and answer any questions that I can if you would like to.
are you prepared to answer a lot of the questions that are in here, or is this gonna take more research and?
I don't know what you're holding there, so I don't know. I certainly would
The pamphlet
answer.
you put out with all the public comment.
We can sit down and talk if you'd like.
so why don't after this meeting, if you don't mind, because we're gonna be closing, if you want to make a time either for phone or in person to talk with Christina and she can go through it, that would be great. I think we're coming up on the end of 2 minutes, but yeah, she can go through technical issues and things like that. They just can't do it.
Right, I understand that. I guess I'm just asking when we get answers and being transparent about it.
You may not get the answers to all the questions you ask, because this is a public process. And you have a property owner or developer who's pursuing what they believe to be their property, the use
Right.
of their property, right? Would strongly encourage to, Ms. Jansen has said she'll make herself available. So to the extent that there are questions that she can answer in the process, I would definitely take her up on that offer. But
Right.
I think what the city's experienced and what I've experienced in the past is sometimes through this process, there might not be answers to the questions you have, or there might not be answers that you
There
want to
may
hear
not
the
be
questions,
answers that the
right?
city itself could answer,
Yeah,
but I guess I'd be looking at pointing in a direction that may be where I can get answers.
correct, yeah. And I think she would probably be the best and greatest resource as the head of the planning department, the planning director, and kind of the administrator of the process. She would have that knowledge.
Is there some sort of timeline on this, that it has to be approved or not approved? I mean,
So just to be clear, so Christina would render a decision, and then that decision would be posted, and how, so we would post that?
The decision will note pursuant to the city code what the appeal rights are in the timeline.
And so after she makes that decision, who would receive notice that that decision was made?
All the agencies that have been offered the opportunity to comment, all of the residents that were notified, and any resident that submitted public comment would receive the written decision in the mail.
With the opportunity and the method to appeal that
appeal
decision?
the decision.
Yeah. So you will know, it won't just be a decision made in a black hole. If you've submitted comments or anything like that, or submitted anything, you will get a notice that says a decision has been made, this is the decision, this is the ability, and how you would appeal that decision.
Fair enough. Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you very much. So next we have Annie Oakes, please.
Thank you. Well, I just wanted to say it's been really edifying sitting here listening to all the different things, activities that you're taking care of in Millwood. We don't have bus service, so the STA part is kind of beyond us, but you clearly care about water quality and leaf pickup. A lot of places don't even have leaf pickup. So we care about the quality of our environment, and then putting in 24 units of manufactured homes is just completely contrary to that. There might only be 2 of us here speaking, but there are over 20. If these seats or people were here, the seats would be almost filled, and not one of the public comments is positive. So please, if there's any discouragement that can be conveyed to the property owners that this is, yes, they might have the right to do something, but that doesn't make it, they're part of a neighborhood. They're part of other people who care about the environment that's there and all the potential risk. I mean, pretty reasonably, it's pretty reasonable to think that there would be increased traffic and increased pressure on our utilities and the stinky smell that we sometimes have in the summer. So just, that's really all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So at this time, we have completed the folks who have signed up, so I will, as a courtesy, make a second call for any other individual who might like to come forward and make comment. Third and final call for public remarks, and with nobody coming forward, we will close the public remarks period, and that brings us to item number 12. First of all, I want to thank everybody who showed up. It's nice to see some folks in the audience, so thank you very much for taking time out of your day, coming down here and participating with us in the process, so thank you. So that brings us to council remarks. We'll start down at the far end. Mr. Van Hees.
I have nothing.
Mr. Sander.
Well, I attended the tree commission meeting last week regarding the urban forest management plan, which is still being drafted, but the inventory is completed, thanks to Daniel's help. But we've got about 1,000 trees on our on our property or our right of way, and a lot of them need to be replaced because either they're dead or dying. A greater percentage needs to be managed and trimmed, and just kind of heads up, we're going to be facing some decisions down the road, I think, on just how much do we want to invest. The consultant says our trees are worth over $5 million to the community as far as all the benefits of having the trees, but they're not going to take care of themselves. So we're going to need to sharpen our pencils come budget time after we get a plan and figuring out what we're going to do and how long it's going to take us to catch up. So.
Thank you, Dan, and I appreciate the city taking on the effort for this urban forestry inventory because we get a lot of comments from folks regarding the trees. And for better or for worse, a number of the trees were all planted simultaneously, so they are going to reach the end of their lives kind of simultaneously. And it's important, as Dan said, for us to, as Millwood, to make some decisions on how we want to allocate resources to preserve our urban canopy, replace our urban canopy, and enhance it. And so, it was with the last tree planting that we did over behind the lodge there, across from the corner door. It was nice to be able to put in something a lot larger, trunk diameter, things like that, that looks a lot more canopy-like, or looks a lot more mature, but that gets to be an expensive proposition if that's the way we're going to go. So I think, as Dan said, we'll get some good guidance back from staff, and it will be some decision-making on the council's part as to what the level of investiture is that the city makes in preserving that canopy. So thank you, Dan.
And I think those trees are either on city property, city right-of-way, or they, and there are a lot of trees on private land that's encroaching on over the travel road. And that's an issue. They did learn that there's a lot of assistance. Another concern is that I forgot the percentage, was a huge percentage of them are maple trees.
49%.
49%. And we just hope that we don't have a maple tree disease come through like the ash or the elm or whatever else. I have a friend in Wisconsin that he's lost all his ash, ash trees, and so I think, but there is guidance for folks who are interested in planting trees on their property through the conservation, the conservation group, or I imagine we call Daniel, and he can lead us that direction also, but we need to be careful not to plant more maples, even though I have them coming up in my yard from my neighbors, but they're not what we want. Another item with my STA hat on, because of lack of staffing, and they've been, having incentives, and they have a full class about ready to graduate, and another group coming through, but some of the route changes are going to be delayed, and the route that was proposed to come along Upriver Drive down Argonne will be delayed. And that also means that the bus that currently comes through down Liberty and Vista will still be in service until the other one is done, but that'll probably be next year instead of this year.
Anything else? Thank you very much, Mr. Sander. Ms. Beesey?
Thank you, Dan, for the update on the tree board. I'm always supportive of everything that group is doing. And then I just wanted to share a general belief statement. I believe that it is very important for all neighbors to be engaged in the process of city work. So agnostic of any topic that was presented, I am so appreciative to be getting public comments and for the community to engage this process. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Shauna. And I would like to take a moment to congratulate Dr. Shauna Beesey, her recipient of her research PhD in
Nursing population health, neighborhood health.
So congratulations, Dr. Beesey. So that concludes our council comments for tonight. Or do we have any announcements? And so with no announcements, I will set our next regular meeting for March 14th, 2023 at 6 p.m. And we will take care of this time. The meeting will be at 6 p.m. And so with nothing else on our agenda, I would seek a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn.
A second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, this meeting is adjourned.
I was gonna ask.